Hey guys, today we're going to be reviewing something that is going to be highly relevant to us in the coming months, if not years, which kind of like has fell out of favor over the last 2 years because of the pandemic, and that is travel charges. So I have a Zendio Passport 3 right here in my hands now. In fact, I have 3 of them in 3 different colors, and I'll go through with you the rationale behind choosing a high quality Zendio Passport 3 charger come travel adapter. Let's get to it. So in the beginning days when I started traveling, I had this contraption of adapters. Some of them are old enough that this one is old enough that it has gotten yellow from heavy usage over the years. So these are dummy adapters. Inside are just metal plates that conducts electricity that converts from this kind of flat US pin to any kind of plugs that you can plug into the other end. And the other type is also, this is a UK based plug, and this is a China based plug. So you can use all these in conjunction, but you have to be mindful that you got to bring the correct one when you're traveling, depending on the country that you're going. So you kind of like have to pre-plan and find out what is the type of adapter. Now, these are simple adapters. They don't actually have any form of charging mechanism inside. They are just basically metal plates to reconduct and reroute the electricity into different pins. I especially like this particular one that I have because it converts to 1 and 2. So basically, in one outlet, you are able to get 2 outputs from one single wall outlet. But this is specific to this China plug here. I don't know what plug it is, I can't remember. But I don't find a lot of use for it because it is not a common plug. Now, fast forward a couple of years after I got some experience traveling, I got around to getting myself one of these. So these are multi-travel adapters. I mean, I don't know what you call it. So basically, it has a few different prongs, which I'm going to plug all of them out. So you can see from here that you can have all the different configuration. And on the other end of it is a multi-adapter plug, which means to say you can plug in any of your plugs, whether is it 3-pin or 2 prongs or any of those. And you just put one adapter without having to worry about where to go and which which outlet they are using. Now, basically, I kind of like the idea, but the implementation wasn't great because it felt very, very flimsy. It's like a lousy Lego, you know what I mean? It doesn't go together very well, and the sliding pins are kind of like you got to lock it in place, and when you unlock it and you try to push it back, you got to hold it in before you lock it. So it's not the most ideal. And of course, this doesn't have a charger as well. Now, fast forward another few years, just a couple of years ago, I got this particular device. So it performs the same as this, except that it has now 2 other USB ports. Now, where it is? Where is the USB port? Okay. I think I flipped more than 6 sites to find the correct site. But anyway, so this is the multi-travel adapter, which has 2 USB ports. So these 2 USB ports are USB-A, and they are rated for 2.4 amps combined. So at 5 volts, 2.4 amp, that's 12 watts of charging power split across 2 USB-A ports. Now, this was useful because I could then just leave my phone chargers at home and just bring my laptop charger to plug into this particular device here. So basically, you still need a charger for charging your laptop to plug into the wall outlet where you're using this particular device. But this posed a slight problem because if you look at the alignment of this, the top charger, if it's in this particular configuration, it sticks out from the wall. So if your wall outlet is flush to the wall, you might have some difficulties if you are trying to use it on a UK plug. Singapore is UK plug, so I don't use this a lot in Singapore. In fact, no reason for me to use it in Singapore, but still, it is something that you have to consider. Now, USB-C has become a lot more popular over the recent years. I think even the European Union, they have already outlawed, or rather passed a law to say that any phone or mobile devices that are going to be sold in the EU needs to have USB-C charging capability. So USB-C is likely here to stay and for the long run. So this device here is getting kind of like a little bit useless. Not to mention that I still have to bring my charger. Today, I have a MacBook 16-inch on my table right here. It's a huge monster device. It's one of the biggest laptops around, and it's the biggest that Apple makes. Now, the charger that came with it is a monstrous brick here, and it's 140 watts. So if you think about how you're going to use this, you're going to have to bring along these two devices. Now, this is where Zendio Passport 3 comes in. Now, the Zendio Passport 3 is in this particular format here. So it is no larger than the previous. Now, if I were to show you the weight, okay, so I'm just going to put out a small weighing scale here. This weighing scale is capable of taking up to 200 grams. So if you look at my older multi-prong adapter, it weighs in at about 94 grams. And if you take a look at the newer one, okay, it weighs in at 110 grams, thereabout. So this in itself, with a 12-watt charger, is going to weigh about 110 altogether. But one good thing is you can kind of like skip the mobile phone chargers, right? So all your mobile devices chargers, those that are lower powered, you don't actually need them anymore. But you still need your this giant brick for your laptop where you are trying to charge. Even the iPads today, they actually come with a beefier power supply, which is actually bigger. Now, if I try to weigh this guy, it's going to, well, it is exceeding 200 grams, therefore overload. So this charger with an adapter is going to weigh a pretty, definitely in excess of 300 grams. Now, if you look at what the Zendio Passport does, right? The Zendio Passport 3 is a travel adapter, and on top of that, it has one PD USB-C port, and it has 3 other USB-C charging ports below, plus a USB-A charging port. So this particular device here, you are able to charge 5 different devices all at the same time. Granted, the PD port is the one that is capable of delivering 65 watts, while the rest are only capable of delivering up to 15 watts of power. And if you plug in everything, it still shares the same 65 watts. But that said, if you don't have to be in a rush to charge devices like your mobile phone in the middle of the day, then this will actually work. Now, I will be trying out the charging capabilities in just a little bit, but meanwhile, let's get back to the weighing scale. And this multi-adapter, together with a 65-watt GAN charger, is coming in at 172 grams. So at 172 grams is actually going to be a lot lighter than the combination that we are putting up here. So probably like half the weight. Now, of course, you're going to argue that the charger that Apple comes with is a 140-watt version, which is the biggest power supply. The biggest charger that Apple makes for its laptops today, you could get a smaller one because it's not an apple-to-apple comparison. This is 65 watts, it's 140 watts. But I find that in regular use, even if I'm using the 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro chip, which requires a lot of power, it doesn't actually deplete itself. 65 watts is good enough to charge it unless you're doing a lot of heavy work, like for example, doing any kind of rendering or even video editing. It could take a bit more power, but if you're not using the laptop, it actually charges it pretty well. So how well does it charge? Now, I kind of like got to clear the table a bit, so just give me a bit of time. Okay, so what I have here is I have prepared a power strip here, and this power strip, I have 2 power monitors mounted on top. So there are a few functionalities of the power monitor, but I will just be using them to monitor the wattage, the output, the wall socket draw from the chargers. Now, here I have the Zendio, and this is the Passport 3. I'm going to use the UK plug because in Singapore we use the UK plug. I will plug it into one side, bearing in mind not to put too much pressure on the MacBook lid because it might crack the screen below. And this is the other one. This is the monstrous charger that we have. Now, the MacBook Pro has been depleted to about 60% battery life, so it should give a pretty good charge if I were to use. Now, of course, first off, I will test the original MacBook Pro charger, and that is using this MagSafe 2 charger. Now, the MagSafe 2 charger actually will deliver quite a bit of power. I've tested it to deliver about 130 watts of power. Let's test it today and see what it gives. So over here, you will be able to see, okay, let me angle it a little bit so you can see it better. Okay, so that is the wattage. Now, I have no means of monitoring what the actual charge is, but over here, you should be able to see the amount of power the chargers draw from the wall socket itself. So it's now going up to about 119 watts. So you have to take about 5% away from this, and that is the amount of power that is going into the MacBook Pro. So at 119, just below 120 watts, probably because the battery is still more than half charged. If the battery was kind of like almost depleted, it will probably put in a lot more charge. Okay, so this is 120 watts. Okay, it's hit 120 watts. Now I'm going to switch the charger over to the Zendio Passport 3. Now, the PD port is by the side, and that is the one that is going to be delivering the most power. Okay, so let's look at the wattage draw. And it will negotiate the power. See, the negotiation is actually very, very fast. So this draws out 69 watts from the wall. So you take away 5% for conversion, you're back to about 65 watts or so. Now, 65 watts, it is what Zendio has promised. So 65 watts is actually a good indication that Zendio is delivering on its promise of delivering the full 65 watts through the PD charging port. Now I'm going to test another cable, which is not the MagSafe cable. So let me just put this aside. I have a cable here that uses USB-C on both ends, but on one side, it has actually a display. Now I'm going to plug it in to the Apple charger. This is the original charger. And when I plug this in to the MacBook Pro, you will see, let me just move it here. You'll see that it lights up with the power that is being drawn. This is all in light. So there is a power monitor on this cable, and it's drawing 95 watts now. So not too shabby, actually. So this cable is rated for 100 watts, right? So it can't deliver more, even if the MacBook or even if the port was capable of accepting more than 100 watts. Again, this is a limitation of the cable, not of the charger. We know that the charger is capable of delivering up to 140 watts. So here, you see that drawing from the wall is drawing about 100 and ending up with 95 watts at the MacBook Pro itself. Now I'm going to remove this and I'll move over to the Zendio Passport 3. Now Zendio Passport 3, same port, PD charging port, and I'll put it into the side, drawing from the wall, negotiating the current very, very quickly. This is 20, before I could even finish the statement, it is now at 70 watts. And at 70 watts draw from the wall, this is the amount of power that is being drawn and fed into the MacBook, which is at 64 watts. So measuring, I've seen it hit 65 watts, so it's right on point. Okay, there you go, 65 watts. So 65 watts as promised by Zendio. So this charger is actually well rated and is delivering on the rated power. So while we are charging this through one port, you might be wondering, what about the rest of the ports? Now, I have mentioned before that below the charger, you have 4 more ports here. 1 USB-A and 3 more USB-C ports. So over in my hands here, I have a plethora of cables and I have 2 Apple Watch charger. One of them is terminated to the host side with a USB-A, and this came with my Apple Series watch, Apple Series 6, and the USB-C terminated one came with an Apple Series 7 watch. Now, these 2 can be plugged in to the Zendio, okay, and it will be able to charge the watch. Now, if you might want to pay attention to the amount of power draw, because there's no other way that I can monitor it here. Now I'm putting on the charger for the Apple Watch, and it is drawing, it is still drawing to the laptop. So I've taken out the laptop, And okay, so here you go. It is now charging the Apple Watch. Okay, it is being charged. It's drawing 1.5 watts from the wall. So not a lot, okay, but it only shows that the Zendio Passport 3 is actually capable of delivering low power charging, especially to small devices, including possibly your smartwatch or something like that. So with the faster Apple charger for the Apple Watch, you are delivering about the same, because this watch here is a Series 6, so there's no faster charging capabilities in the Series 6 that I'm wearing. My wife is wearing the Series 7, so I don't have that with me right now. But just to show that the charger is able to put out small current to charge even small devices. Now, I have another set of cable here. This Tango. Cable life. Okay, these are lightning chargers. And as you can see, I'm very into the Apple ecosystem. So these are both lightning chargers. And again, one of them terminated in USB-C and the other terminated USB-A. Now I'm going to plug in the USB-C part, okay? Because that's what we have tested, the USB-A. So the USB-C port, I'm going to be charging my phone. My phone is currently at about 83% battery. So 83% battery means it won't deliver a very, very fast charge. But if I plug it in straight away, it recognizes and it starts to charge. Okay. And let's see how much power it's drawing from the wall. So it's now negotiating. It's probably about 4 watts so far. And that is all. I have not plugged anything else in. So now 8.5 watts. Fast charge, but not the fastest, because the phone is now over 80% charged. So one thing that you have to bear in mind is that all the ports at the bottom of the Zendio Passport 3, it is actually just going to deliver a total combined of 15 watts. So you're not going to get 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15. It doesn't work that way, because that will total 60 and leave nothing for the PD port. But as the testing have shown, the PD port is a reliable charging port. It delivers the power. It delivers the stated 65 watts to charge your high-powered devices. And with that, I'm actually very happy. Now, I'm going to talk about the look and feel of this. So the technical testing aside, we have concluded that it works very well. I'm just going to keep the things away, because I really don't like mess when I'm stuck in a small room like this. Okay, so just give me a minute. Okay, so now that the mess is cleared, I'm going to talk about the Zendio Passport 3, which is a travel adapter. Now, this travel adapter is actually very, very well made, right? I have actually 3 copies in front of me. So when I speak to sponsors like this, when I speak to people who are trying to sponsor the videos or trying to provide me items for review, one of the first things I tell them is that, look, you can send me the items for review, but if I find nothing good to say about it, if it doesn't perform up to specification, or I'm not going to use them long term, I will not make the video and I'll return it, which explains why 2 others have not been unboxed, because I just unboxed one to make sure that they are all working fine. And the first copy that I open up is actually this silver color one, which is very, very nice gradient finish. If you could take a closer look, maybe with a strong light, you aren't able to tell the color difference, but I'll talk about the rest of the colors in just a little bit. Well, I might as well be talking about the colors right now. So over here, I have a blue one. So the blue one is actually also a gradient finish from the lighter shade to the darker shade at the bottom. The difference between the units are basically just the color. So there's the blue one, and over here, there is a purple one. I think this is my favorite color because the color is strong and it's punchy. It's a very nicely designed piece of kit. Now, how it looks aside, okay, it actually feels very strong, feels very well made. The pins to slide out all the plugs are actually very, very smooth, and it operates easily, and it clicks into place very, very well. So once it is out and clicked into place, it doesn't actually move around and wobble around very much at all. Now, all the ports are also well spaced and equally spaced out. So your plugs, even if they're going to be a little bit bulkier, it still will go in. But being only one USB-A port, that shouldn't be an issue. USB-C ports are usually a little bit smaller and a little bit easier to plug in. Now, if you're going to plug out the middle one, then you kind of like have to pull it by the cord because you probably can't get your fingers around there to pull it out by the head itself. But that said, the PD port is the one that is isolated to the side. Now, at the bottom of the unit, there's a LED light that lights up and it shines below, so it doesn't shine on the faceplate. So if you're in a hotel room and you plug it into the wall and you turn up all the lights, the LED light is not going to be blinking and shining in your face. Now, and it is a real problem because the earlier one I have, it has a red LED light, and the red LED light kind of drove me crazy. I got to use tape to tape it up because it was shining a bright light into the dark room, and I don't like to sleep with lights in the room. And to round this whole charger off, there's actually a ABS style casing, which is semi-translucent, so you can actually see some of the circuitry that is inside. Okay, it's very, very well done, very, very well made. So all in all, a very sturdy piece of kit, which I think I will be using for quite a while. So thank you, Zendio. Now I'll leave the links to their Kickstarter page. They have raised over 400,000, hitting 500,000, $500,000 for this product alone. So if you are keen, if you are interested, I'll leave the links down below. Do pay them a visit. I think it is worth something to add to your arsenal, especially since the country borders are opening up and the air travel is resuming in some small way. I myself went to Bangkok. Unfortunately, this came after I went to Bangkok and came back, so I had to use one of the older ones. But my next trip, which is probably coming up soon, sometime this month, I will be bringing this charger along, and I'll skip the actual MacBook charger itself. I'll skip my office laptop charger, in fact, and it should cut down on my bag size and luggage weight quite significantly. So while this has nothing to do with wireless audiophile product or Sonos stuff that you have always heard me talk about, I think this is something useful. It's tech related. I'm a tech geek and I really am nerdy about anything that runs on battery or requires electrons. So if that's your kind of thing, consider subscribing to this channel, and I'll see you in my next video. The Zendio Passport 3 is actually a very, very well-made piece of multi-plug travel. What do they call this?